Anchors up, sails at full. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How you doing today, Kyle?
Doing all right, Jared. Doing all right. How are you doing?
We've been off for a couple weeks. I think we're sort of rolling under a philosophy of, if we don't got something, we don't got something, and that's fine. But for right now, this is a new tradition. It's a good tradition. There we go with that.
Speaking of good traditions, but not new traditions though, but good traditions. Ohio State landing good commits here. Ohio State favor a running back out of Delaware, Ohio, 4-star running back.
Yeah. This isn't a big surprise. It's not a big surprise. That relationship's been good for a while. There's been a ton of visits. Not a surprise. That was, I think the last time we did a recruiting episode, I labeled him as not if, but when. One of those type of players. So, hey, and it's great to get him, on the commitment list, and it's great to get him to a position where he can go out and start recruiting other players and all of that. It's obviously great to get a commitment, but not a huge surprise.
Yep. All right, let's talk. Let's have some fun, Jared. There's not a ton of Ohio State news out here, so why not go into our Wasteland mailbag here and talk about something fun here. So recently, I think it was brought up about a month ago. The NFL approved NFL players to play flag football for the Olympics. So then there was a question that was asked.
Kyle, I think most people are going to be surprised that there's flag football in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Let alone that the NFL is actually signing off on it, which is a different.
Austin asked the question of draft Ohio State Olympic flag football teams.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do. Now, the stipulation that Jared and I have put in is that we're going to do players since 2010.
Yeah, it's a little too.
The perfect one here, Jared.
The pool is a little too deep if we go like all time.
Sure. Even 2000. Man, there would have been one player.
Kyle and I had a back and forth negotiation.
Yeah. Actually, no. He's technically would be since 2010. Actually, I will not say this person's name, but there's a lot of corners, Jared. There's a lot of corners that will be missing out since we're doing 2010, like Malcolm Jenkins, Chris Campbell. I think Antoine Winfield is right there on the border there. I can't remember if he's like late 90s or right at 2000, but that's like three. You could arguably say those are three of maybe the Mount Rushmore of cornerbacks at Ohio State right there.
Well, that's a whole other side conversation that we don't have time to get into.
But yeah, let's start it. So 5v5, 5 versus 5 is the format for flag football. So that's what we're going to do. We're actually going to do one substitute for each one. So 6 offensive players, 6 defensive players, however you want to do it. But you do have to have a minimum of a quarterback, a center, and then whatever you want after.
Well, I don't think the center is actually a center. Like, your center's probably like a tight end, a big body pass catcher. Like, there's no blocking. Field size is 70 yards long and 25 yards wide, which is wild to me that it's in the Olympics and that we're using yards. There's a 10-yard end zone. As Kyle pointed out, there are 10 teams or 10 players. Give us the gold now, right? Are we talking current age skill level or peak skill level? Peak collegiate skill level. Peak collegiate skill level. That's sort of the. Yeah, let's go. 10 players per team, 5 players on the field at the same time, as Kyle said. We're going to draft 12 just because. There are 2 20-minute halves, including a 2-minute warning. It's a continuous clock up until the 2-minute warning. Then they play with different rules. Each team gets 4 downs to reach midfield. And if they successfully do that, they get 4 additional downs to score a touchdown. You cannot score. That's not, well, hold on. That's not right. 1 QB run per 4 plays. I haven't seen anything about that. What I can tell you is that run plays are not allowed within 5 yards of the end zone. I haven't seen any restrictions on QB running, although I'm sure that there are. Blitzing, a maximum of 2 blitzers can rush the quarterback, provided they are more than 7 yards away from the line of scrimmage. There are no offensive or defensive linemen, and no blocking is allowed. No jumping or diving as a ball carrier.
Yep, you got to always be on your feet when you have possession of the ball.
You also can't return interceptions.
Right.
Just it's not going to be relevant to what we're doing here today, but yeah, you just get the ball at that point.
Yep. All right. So I guess we will determine. I'm actually just going to do a quick Google thing here of heads or tails. Jared, you called in the air.
Heads or tails? Who goes? Are we supposed to go honor system here? Am I supposed to trust you?
Yes, Jared. You're going to have, you trust me. Unless you really don't, and I'll share my screen, but we'll go through all of that.
I'll trust you.
All right, heads or tails?
Tails.
And I am going to take a screenshot of that. It says it's heads. So.
Okay. All right. So Kyle gets the pick first. Let me make sure I have my. Yeah, I know. Convenient. I know.
Oh.
Right. Let me make sure I have my text tool selected. And. Yeah, go ahead, Kyle. Who do you have first?
All right. Honestly, like I mentioned at the start here, since we're doing 2010, we're missing on a lot of really good corners for Ohio State. Like originally when I was thinking like, oh, let's do this since 2000, like you could have picked Malcolm Jenkins and Chris Gamble. I think those are 2 like obvious, maybe 1 and 2, 1A, 1B corners to add to your team. So with those not as an option, I'm going to go with a cornerback. Yeah, Gamble was made for this. Yeah, so I'm going to go with Denzel Ward as my first one. Need a really good defensive back here, and I think defensive backs are a position that I think there's a few obvious ones to add onto your team. So I'm gonna get my number 1 DB right now, Denzel Ward.
All right. As they say, quarterbacks win championships, not defenses, not anything else. I think there's a clear number 1. Give me CJ Stroud.
That's where you're wrong, buddy. That's where you're wrong.
I disagree. I know who my options are. And I disagree.
Okay. All right. I'll save my quarterback then. So, I'll finish out my second deep corner here. I'll go with so tough. Actually, no. I'm going to go with my center. I'm going to go with my player who's going to be snapping the ball.
I mean, that could literally be any of your players.
I'm going to go yeah, but he doesn't run, Jared. I'm going to go Jeremy Ruckert.
Okay.
I'm going to go Jeremy Ruckert for my uh, for my first offensive player.
All right. My turn.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. We're getting peak at college
Mm-hmm.
since 2010. Is that what we're saying?
It is, yes, since 2010.
And I mean, Jeremiah is still pretty peak. Yeah, he is. I think the wide receiver. I think the wide receiver pool is just a little too deep right now. Um, I think that's more my take.
Buckeye Esquire, there's a lot of talent on the wide receivers. There's a lot of talent. So I'm not too afraid of Jared picking somebody I have for my final team here. So there's a lot of wide receivers to choose from.
Yeah, I agree. Um, let's see. Um, uh, this might be a weird take
Sure. What you thinking, Jared?
because hold on. I really have not found a reliable list to pull from.
Okay.
So
What do you think? What do you think? Everybody in the Discord here who's listening, who would you pick next if you were
yeah,
Jared? Would
if you
you
were me,
would you would you get yourself a wide receiver? Would you go defense here?
I'm making my pick though. I'm just letting
Okay.
everyone know. Malik Hooker.
Ah, uh, I was on the verge of picking him, so I should have gone with that. But yeah, Malik. I think Malik Hooker was. I think that's a good one. So
Yeah, it's a damn. And he couldn't get past his injuries on a collegiate or on a professional level. But if we're yeah, I
yeah,
think if we're going like peak college, I think that's my guy.
yeah. I think I'm going to go with Marshawn Lattimore as my next pick here.
All right. Esquire says he likes the Hooker pick. Odin, we are picking since 2010. Teddy
Yeah, I would
Ginn
love
not
Teddy.
available.
I would love Teddy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would have loved Teddy too. And I would love Malcolm Jenkins. I would love Chris Gamble and
All right. I want another guy. I want a versatile guy here.
Yep.
Um, this is a safety who can cover, who can also play man if I need him to. Von Bell.
Mm. It's it's not a bad pick there.
Especially with
All
only
right.
25 yard fields, Hooker is no fly zone. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. Let's see. My turn. Let's see. Where
We
should we
currently have
go?
two corners and a tight end.
I got two corners and a tight end. I think he fits a flag football style. Um, I'll go with MHJ. I'll go with MHJ with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Ooh, breaking the seal
I am.
off of the wide receivers.
there's a lot to say to these spikes about just about recency bias. Yes, Jeremiah had such a
Mm,
stellar freshman year.
I don't know, man.
Such a stellar freshman. And
I don't know, man.
and
I know
and
what
you
you're
and
saying,
if
but
you
I don't know.
if you picked him, I wouldn't for your first wide receiver, I wouldn't hold it against you.
All right, if you say so.
All right. Who do you got, Jared?
Um, let's see.
Yeah, Rondale Moore would be a spectacular player.
I'm a stay on my defensive bend. Can't let Kyle grab up all the corners. So give me Jeffrey Okuda.
All right.
You either want very big receivers or incredibly shifty receivers for flag. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering why you were wishing me good luck on that, Spikes. I'm like, damn, I didn't know you were an Okuda hater. Edits it to say good pick.
All right, let's see.
Yeah, I think Kyle already responded to that. Yeah, Rondale Moore would be a flag football menace.
Yes. Uh, for my next pick here, I think I'll go with Eli Apple.
Okay. Are you going three corners?
Yeah, I'll do three corners. Yep. Got three corners who can do really well on man to man.
Okay. All right. I think I'll be honest with you. I don't know how to build. I don't know how to build a flag football team.
I don't either, Jared. This is just all for fun here.
Because like obviously there's no lineman, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Pass rushing the quarterback's a thing, but it's really purely like a speed thing,
it is.
right?
Yes.
You just have to.
Mm-hmm.
You're not trying to beat anyone. You just have to start like 7 yards off the ball. So
Mm-hmm.
like, do we go all defensive backs? Do we mix
Yes.
in
So
linebackers?
I've played some flag football, and you have a few different ways, both offense and defense. But I'm thinking more defense because I played on the defense side mainly. Um, you typically could do like um, two up, two back, and a rusher, or you could do three defensive backs and then a safety, or you can just do straight up um, like three DBs, a rusher, and a safety. Just a lot of different formations you can do.
Yeah, I mean you're right, Spikes. If you are to take a linebacker, it would have to be a cover focused linebacker,
Mm-hmm.
like a Darren Lee, if that's who you want to go with. Um, but yeah, I agree. It would you'd want to go a smaller cover type as opposed to a bigger a safety who's a stereotypical center fielder, which I think I have in Hooker. Um, I would say I have that, and Vaughn is more of a can play up type safety, especially if you need him in man. Um, yeah, but for right now, I'm gonna go back to the offensive side. I'm gonna draft Zeke Elliott.
Right.
I think as far as flag football is concerned, I think he's going to be one of our better options.
Sure. All right, cool. So that's 5 picks each for Jared and I. Let's do a quick ad break real quick, Jared, and
Yes,
we'll
let's.
continue on with our picks here. So the sloopcast.com is your go-to link for anything and everything Sloopcast related. There you can get to our merchandise store, YouTube, Discord, Patreon, all of the lovely links over at thesloopcast.com. So we'll take our first ad break and be right back for some more picks.
Okay, Kyle. That's I don't know if we call that the first round or not, but
All right.
but yeah,
So
let's continue on with pick 6, round 6. Who do you have?
mhm. You picked a different position on the offense, and I think some people were talking about a linebacker, and I actually was thinking of a linebacker for my next pick, kind of be that rusher. So someone who has done really well being able to rush the ball since 2010. So that's no Laurinaitis, that's no AJ Hawk. But if it was between those two, I would have picked Laurinaitis. But I'll go with Shazier. I'm going to go with Ryan Shazier as my linebacker. And go
I
ahead and
think.
change your
Oh
your
shoot!
video
Sorry,
there.
went back to the wrong screen.
There you go. I'll go with Ryan Shazier as my rusher.
All right. Kyle goes with another defensive pick with Ryan Shazier. I think that's a good. I think that's a good flag football pick for sure. I think I'm gonna go speed on the defensive side. I'm gonna go with another defensive back, I think. And I'm gonna go. What are you doing to me, Photoshop? I'm gonna go with Caleb Downs.
All right. All right. That's a good pick. It's a good pick.
Definitely. Oh, Curtis
I think
Samuel would be a solid pick. Lineup at running back for flag. That's a very good point. Um,
I'm actually going to go offense for my next pick here, Jared. I think he's going to fit perfectly under a flag football style. That's number 21. That's Mr. Paris Campbell.
I think Paris Campbell is a good fit in this system.
We talk about pure speed. Uh, you could put him in the backfield, uh, get him out in space. You just throw the ball to him, and then he makes guys miss. Yeah.
Did I spell his name right?
Campbell. Campbell.
Oh, okay. I couldn't decide if it was a P or a B. Apparently, it's both.
It's both.
All right. I can't spell. Y'all think I can't pronounce things? Wait till you see me try and spell. Listen. I'm just gonna do this out of a sense of no. Kyle does not have a quarterback yet. I mean, I picked a quarterback straight out of the gate, which leaves basically. I mean, I could take a second quarterback. I'm not gonna. So it doesn't make sense for him to draft one yet. He has his pick of who remains. All right. Kyle apparently is refusing to do it, so I'll do it. Give me Jeremiah Smith.
All right. All right. There he is. There he is.
Finally.
Finally.
Yeah, I agree. That took too long. I wanted to get my quarterback and build a defense, but Kyle just kept just leaving him out there for me.
Oh, where to go next, Jared? Where shall we go next here?
Where do you go next?
It's a great question. I think man, there's a lot of good receivers. I don't know if I want to go back to wide receiver here. Um, oh, I want to make sure he's part of the 2010 here. Pretty sure he is.
All right. Kyle's looking.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry for.
No, you're good. I've taken much longer. Again, I've had a hard time finding like a decent list to pull from, but yeah, it's yeah. Who else? I mean,
Yeah,
what are you thinking? Where are you going?
I was thinking on the defense side as a back here. Maybe someone who could maybe play safety, because I know you've taken like 3 safeties already.
I have, but Von Bell's a cover safety.
Okay, fair. I think when I was looking at safeties, I think I saw one. Whoops. Reopen, close. I did not mean to do that. I think there was a couple of. I think there was a couple of safeties that I was seeing, but not as highly as like Hooker and Bell. But, since there's not that many safeties left, I may not go there. God, guys, you have to stop with all the posting. But since you're doing that, I'm gonna pick my quarterback now in case Jared does it. Braxton. I'm picking Braxton as my quarterback.
Just total pivot. Kyle, I wasn't gonna take him.
Okay.
I already have my quarterback.
You could add him as a wide receiver.
I think we both know that's a mistake. No offense.
But yeah. But here's a cool thing about Braxton Miller. He could be your receiver. Like, you could do back passes to.
You have so many wide receivers. The wide receiver roster that we can pick from is so deep. Why would you pick a quarterback? I'd be more tempted to play him at running back than I would quarterback, quite frankly. In flag football,
Braxton fits like a flag football type of quarterback.
I'm not 100% sure what the rules are on quarterback scrambles, so maybe.
Dude, like I'd take Braxton Miller over anyone who's trying to rush him, like him being able to make guys miss. Yeah, I take Braxton over anybody who will try to grab a flag off of him.
I mean, you're not wrong. Well, it's, it is what it is. You're not wrong.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right. Who are you going to pick next, Jared?
I'm gonna be super honest with you. You took the linebacker I wanted, and it's kind of left me scrambled.
Do you want help? You want help? Because I'm not picking another linebacker. Do you want help? Because there's one more. There's one more obvious one. There's one more obvious one.
Well, no, I would say there's 2 or 3 obvious ones.
Okay.
I'm having trouble picking between those.
Oh yeah, I guess there's a couple of them, but
but you took the guy I wanted. And again, I mean, I am trying to do more of a cover linebacker. Yeah, I'm gonna go Darren Lee.
Okay. Yeah. Darren Lee was my other one. It was Darren Lee or even Joshua Perry as well.
Yeah. I think there are other good picks out there too. Brian Roll, who's I think who I seriously was considering, is one of the great like underrated Ohio State linebackers. I think he didn't play on fantastic teams. And his last year was in 2010, so he's also barely making the cutoff here. This is just me jumping on a soapbox real quick for the fact that I think Brian Roll was ahead of his time, a fantastic college football linebacker, and isn't talked about enough. So I'm just tossing that out there as a general thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think Perry isn't a cover enough for flag football. I think you need, because like hell, you could pick like guys like Raekwon McMillan, who is a fantastic linebacker, but isn't going to be necessarily a good flag football linebacker. There's a lot of good Ohio State linebackers who aren't necessarily who you'd want as a flag football linebacker. And I will say I also have safeties who can hit and come up too. So this is why I went a little bit more, again, trying to be versatile, went a little more heavy in the safeties as opposed to the corners.
Sure.
Okay, Kyle, you have 4 players on your offense, 4 players on your defense. You need 2 more starters and you need 2 backups.
Sure. I'm going to go with Von Bell.
I already picked Von Bell. I picked Von Bell.
You did pick Von Bell. I'm sorry. I was looking.
He was my 3rd round pick.
I can't do that. I think I'll go with Tyvis Powell. I'll go with Tyvis Powell as my safety.
I would say another linebacker, safety who, as years go by, I don't know if enough people realize how good Tyvis Powell was.
Remember, his first year as a starter was the national championship team.
Yeah,
and he was also the player who picked off.
He wasn't the starter who picked up that year, but
yeah, he picked off Devin Gardner on that 2-point attempt as well too. Yep, Powell saves the season. Yes, he did.
All right, Kyle, I have finished my defense, my starting defense. I still can pick a backup.
Yeah, and he was named defensive MVP in the championship game against Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Tyvis Powell, I gather, I'm starting to think that people don't, I don't know if people think about Tyvis Powell in the correct, lofty.
Yeah, he's a really good radio host. He is.
Which, by the way, doesn't surprise me, because back when Twitter was fun, and that's not a political statement, Twitter stopped being fun long before it was sold. So don't jump to conclusions on what I mean by that. But back when Twitter was fun, he was one of the funniest, most fun follows from that team. He and Cardell's relationship on Twitter was fun. He was funny in the championship video interviews. Yeah, no, he's just, I'm not at all surprised that he's making it in the media world is all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Your turn, Jared. Where are you going to go? Probably offense.
Probably.
Your offense seems a little lackluster.
That's a horrible thing for you
in terms of the number of players you have. He does have number 4.
Y'all are crazy. It's all I'm saying.
I have number 1/5.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay, listen. You say that. What did we say? What was being talked about? I believe it was Esquire who said it. If it wasn't, it was Spikes. So apologies if I am misattributing. But someone says for flag football, you either need a big, tall, fast wide receiver, or a small, shifty wide receiver. JSN.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
come get it.
That's he was on my. He was like on my top 3 or 4 receivers to pick from. Yeah, Jason, fantastic. But I'm going to go with someone who's just as good to throw it underneath. Has had stellar career at Ohio State. I want to make sure he.
Oh, here we go.
I want to make sure.
Doing the double check.
Someone else, Jared, who wore number 5 as well. It's Mr. Garrett Wilson.
I mean, yeah, no one's gonna tell you Garrett Wilson isn't a fantastic pick.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Like the pool at wide receiver is just it is the deep end. Just straight up, it's the deep end of the pool. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah. All right. It's your turn, Jared.
I can either finish off my offense or I can grab a defensive backup.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad pick, Spikes. Spikes calling for Olave to be picked. You know, I only got
Maybe
5 I only got 5 people on the field. So I'm trying to stay as versatile as possible. So that's sort of where I'm trying to stay is versatility. So with versatility in mind, but I love that I put Z Elliott as if Zeke is his God-given name. I just now noticed that I did that.
Ezekiel.
Yeah, I understand that. I just now noticed that I just did.
It's funny. So my son has a book called Buckeyes A to Z, and
okay,
Z
but that's desperation though.
It is.
That's desperation. Otherwise you're like zebras, the guys who call the football game. Like there's not a lot of options there for Buckeyes A to Z.
Sure. All right, who are you picking, Jared?
I'm going with Curtis
Samuel. Yeah.
Versatility. He's a running back. He is a wide receiver. He can snap the ball. He can do everything that he wants to do. And let me just spell his name correctly. And Zach Bourne. I don't think the raw athleticism that is required for flag football is gonna fix Zach Bourne too much.
Mm-hmm.
But versatile. Oh, for Buckeyes A to Z. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose there are some Zachs to pick from.
All right. I'm gonna solidify my defense here, Jared.
All right.
Go with Bradley Roby.
Not a bad pick. Not a bad pick.
I mean, as my last pick for the defense.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Bradley. Yeah. Yes, he is. He is, yes. Yeah, Bradley Roby, I think a lot of Buckeye fans like have mixed feelings towards Roby. Like he's had his good games and he's had his not so good games too, but boy, that he has he's really, really quick though. And so someone who can maybe keep up with or try to keep up with Samuel, Curtis Samuel, Roby wouldn't be a bad option to put him up against.
That corners are also very, very deep.
Chimney Chekwa wasn't. He's in the 2000s. I thought. Pretty sure Chimney Chekwa was. Oh,
2010
that
was
wasn't last year.
So yeah, eligible.
Oh gosh, yeah. I kept thinking of him as the 2000s.
I probably should get another lockdown corner. But I have a couple to choose from, and Kyle can't pick another defensive player, so I'm going to pick an offensive player.
Sure. I've got two players in my mind, and looks like Jared took one of them there. So
there you go, Michael Thomas. I'm going to go with Michael Thomas.
Sure. All right. So some other players out there. Gosh, this is so. I have to pick an offensive player here, and I'm going to pick a. Actually, gosh, there's a lot of ways I can go here. Do I go with another wide receiver? So out there currently now,
I'll point out, Kyle, that you don't have a running back on your team.
I'm getting there. Yes.
Okay. Not to say that you need one, because Braxton Miller could be a running back, except that he's your quarterback.
Yeah. Chris Olave is out there. KJ Hill, Terry McLaurin, a sleeper, Devin Smith, who we've seen can throw the ball. So as I was mentioning before, Jared, where in flag football, like there's a lot of pass backs, and then the quarterback goes out and run. Hence why I picked Braxton Miller, who can go out and be a wide receiver as well too. And yes, Devin Smith is lethal in the deep ball as well. And when I was doing research here, Z Spikes,
let me just point out real quick, Kyle, you're not going to be able to pass back to Braxton Miller, as he is your only quarterback on the roster. So I'm just pointing it out that you have a tight end.
I know.
Three wide receivers.
I'm just saying
a quarterback overall, who may or may not be a quarterback.
I'm just saying, as overall, like when you see flag football, like you see a lot of you do see quite often like pass backs, and then quarterback does an out or a slant or whatever too.
We assume this is pre-broken shoulder Braxton. We said peak. We said peak version. So I guess
Devin Smith has the Ohio State record of average yards per touchdown reception. So every time he scores a touchdown,
it's a very specific number. And by the way, that really
37.9 yards, Jared.
I only think that matters if CJ12 is your quarterback, to be honest with you.
Yeah. But you're right, Jared. Running back is something I had on my kind of my final team here, which I've actually got pretty much almost everybody that I wanted to here. I'll go with J.K. Dobbins as my running back.
All right.
J.K. Dobbins has let me see if I can find it again. Is number 2 on running back receptions. Trey was my next one here, but JK was more shifty. JK was more shifty than Travion. But Travion has the most receptions of a running back, I think, in history. I have to double check that, but yeah, I'll stick with J.K. Dobbins. Just he's a little bit more shifty than Travion. Don't get me wrong, like Travion I'd be happy to put Travion on my team, but I'll pick J.K.
All right. I'm gonna lock in my last pick. It will be yet another defensive back. I'm going to go with Gary Conley. And that is our final pick. All right. Let's do another quick ad break. Hold on.
Yep, go ahead.
Save your thought. Cal already did the ad break. We don't need to go through a ton more on the subject. You can just visit thesloopcast.com, where you can find links to literally all the other things. Check out our t-shirt stores. Check us out on your podcast app of choice, or the video version on YouTube, youtube.thesloopcast.com. We're also on the Buckeye Huddle Network, and you can find us on their YouTube page as well. We upload to both our own YouTube page and their YouTube page, so you can watch us on either. Let's get back to the show. All right.
I was thinking of most receptions by a running back.
Yeah.
So would you? I'm looking at stats here. I got a ton of stats here. Would you consider Curtis Samuel as a running back or a wide receiver?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll exclude him because he's not a true running back.
Okay.
So yeah,
in college, he was a running back. He's a running back who lined up outside a lot. Spikes.
Yeah. So if we consider Curtis Samuel as a true running back, he would have the most receptions as a running back at Ohio State. If we take him out, the next person is Keith Byers,
who's not eligible by a lot.
Who's not eligible, and with 2 yards less than Keith Byers, 2 yards less than him, is Travion Henderson.
Okay. So are you regretting your pick?
No, I'm not regretting my pick. No.
Okay. Here's the thing, though. A lot of those yards for Trey came off of screens, and screens aren't a thing in flag football.
Yeah.
As there's no blocking, or no offensive lineman, no defensive lineman. All right, Kyle. If you, real quick, if this wasn't a draft, if you were just doing this on your own, free pick of the litter, who's your offense?
My offense, I'd still stick with Braxton Miller.
That's
Jeremy Ruckert.
That's a mistake.
Jeremy Ruckert. You need to go back and watch Braxton Miller. Jeremy Ruckert. I would still stick with Paris Campbell and Marvin Harrison. I did have JSN as my third wide receiver. And I did have J.K. Dobbins as well for my running back. So I pretty much everybody except for JSN on what I wanted for on my offense.
I think I'd have JSN at center. Maybe.
And then on the defensive side,
I didn't ask.
Yeah, I think I'm really happy with my defense minus maybe the safety. I kind of wish I had any of those three, Hooker, Bell, or Downs.
You tried to pick Von Bell.
I did, yes. Hooker, Bell, or Downs as one of my safeties there. But I'm really happy with my defense. I don't think I would really change much of really what I had, minus replacing Powell with, like I said, with one of the three safeties that you have.
I would have preferred to have Ryan Shazier over Darren Lee. I probably would have taken Denzel Ward had I had the opportunity to. I really like Jeffrey Okudah. I think I would have my three cornerbacks. if we're doing 3 cornerbacks, would have been Ward, Acuna. Man, it gets real tough after that.
Ward, I had Ward, Lattimore, and then Acuna for me, for my top 3 corners.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that.
Yeah, I think somebody in the chat mentioned before.
Really good, though.
I think somebody in the chat mentioned like that mid 2010s. There was some mid to late 2010s, some very, very good corners.
Yeah,
very good.
I totally. I do think Shazier is the perfect linebacker for this team.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I had to pick a starting 5 at defense, all things considered, I think I would go with Hooker, Bell, Ward. I'm tempted to throw in a third safety with Caleb Downs and Ryan Shazier.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's my ideal starting 5 at defense. Offensive, I'm going with CJ Stroud. I need a guy who's going to get the ball to the other guys. I'm sticking with Zeke Elliott. I am gonna go over to your team and steal Marvin Harrison to go with Jeremiah Smith and JSN. I think that's my ideal trio. Stroud is really good under duress. Yeah. He can move the pocket. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Except there is no pocket.
Well, I mean, move the pocket's I mean, you know, they can still rush.
I know. But and I love CJ Stroud. I absolutely love CJ Stroud. But it's a different type of quarterback when it comes to flag football. You pretty much need someone who is just so quick on their toes. Not saying CJ Stroud isn't, but you need someone who's that elite on their toes, and that's where Braxton comes into play.
Listen,
he can make the throws. He can absolutely make the throws.
Not like CJ Stroud can make the throws. And he also isn't not a student of the game the way CJ Stroud is. If you're always under duress, CJ Stroud doesn't have the scrambling ability of Braxton Miller, but even under duress, he's going to find the guy and get him the ball better than Braxton is. And if my 3 wide receivers are Marvin Harrison Jr., Jeremiah Smith, and JSN, I don't want my quarterback scrambling for yards. I want him getting the ball to those 3. And to me, the ideal person to do that is CJ Stroud. In a flag football situation, honestly, Kyle, I don't know if Braxton Miller is in the top 3 quarterbacks I'd take for this.
No, he's definitely number 1 for me. For flag football 5v5, absolutely. Absolutely.
He doesn't have Stroud's accuracy, but he will require a spy and a rusher, so there'll be more holes open. Stroud can run too. Just because he chose not to doesn't mean he can't. And I know he can't run the way Braxton can, but Braxton doesn't have the arm strength, the accuracy, or the mind that CJ Stroud has. I'd take Justin Fields before I took Braxton Miller. And you know, I'm going to say it. I'd take take Terrell Pryor over Braxton Miller in a flag football concept.
No way.
You forget how good he was.
Maybe I'd have him snap the ball and he goes into receiving.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm not going to die on the hill that I'd take Terrell Pryor over Braxton Miller. I'm not going to argue that with a lot of. It's not something I've given a ton of thought to. I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to die on that hill. But I'd take Fields and Stroud first. That's a hill I'd die on. I think a lot of Ohio State fans, but perhaps you and Spikes included, allow the off the field stuff to.
No, I'm not even saying off the field stuff.
No, but I think the way things went for him at Ohio State clouds our judgment of who he was on the field. The well is poisoned. And I think people don't give him.
Pryor was able to throw the ball really well. I'm not saying that. And he made some spectacular throws, and he was a big guy, like a really big guy who can, like, when you get out in space, he can, I guess not plow somebody over, but he doesn't go down easy. He doesn't go down easy.
I mean,
when he's out in space.
In this context, it's flag. So that doesn't
matter. Yeah. And that was the reason why I picked Braxton Miller over all of those guys. It's because it's flag football. That's the big thing. You need someone who's so shifty, who can make guys miss. And we've seen it over and over again with Braxton Miller being able to make guys miss.
That you're not allowed to run the ball inside the 5-yard line.
And that's fine. And I'm
not even 100% sure
and that's why
quarterback scrambles fall in under the Olympic rules. I didn't see them mentioned in like the outlines I saw. I'm not 100% sure how that works. I think it's 1 per 4 plays. Let's assume that that's true. If you don't have like if you could just like send all the wide receivers deep and then let Braxton like stand at the top of the key and beat his guy. If you could send everyone off to the out of bounds line and leave Braxton Miller 1-on-1 with his guy. If that's allowed, then we can have a conversation. And if you could do that for every play, unless it started within the 5-yard lines, then we can have that conversation. I don't think, and again, I don't even know if the full list of rules are even set in stone. This is the Olympics. There's no flag football in the Olympics until 2028. It is a fairly standard rule, as Spikes pointed out, that it's 1 per 4 plays for quarterback scrambles. Mm-hmm. But I have not explicitly seen that said in regards to the Olympics yet. I don't know that I've seen the full list of rules though. Again, so if we could play like Michael Jordan ball and just leave Braxton at the top of the 3-point line 1-on-1 while everyone else just clears off the court, then hey, let's have the Braxton Miller conversation. I just don't even know if that's legal. Elusive quarterbacks in flag football are just more dangerous than pocket passer style quarterbacks because everyone has to cover longer. Agreed, which is why I even brought up the name Terrell Pryor and I didn't bring up Haskins or, Cardell Jones. That's why those guys aren't in this conversation.
Yeah, you need a quarterback like, just think of the NFL here, like Lamar Jackson. I think kind of fits perfectly in my mind as the flag football quarterback.
That's another good conversation. Who's your flag football quarterback? Who do you think should be the flag football quarterback for the United States in 2028? Is it Lamar Jackson?
I mean, he would be starting getting up there in age, but I'd probably stick with Lamar Jackson. Either that, or if you want to pick maybe a younger quarterback, maybe. I'm still not a big fan of him, but maybe Jaden Daniels, maybe.
I'm not going to sign off on Jaden Daniels.
I'd still pick Lamar Jackson though, or maybe Caleb Williams. Maybe Caleb Williams if you want to go younger.
Or CJ Stroud. Yeah.
But
rookie year RG3 maybe. I'll die on the hill that senior year, I assume it was his senior year, it was one of the best college football quarterbacks I've ever seen in my life was RG3 in his last year. He didn't transition to the pros well. There were injuries involved in that. But that dude was unstoppable in college football for a minute. For a hot minute, that dude couldn't be touched. There were ridiculous stats, like he had more touchdowns than incompletions like halfway through the season. Granted, Baylor wasn't playing the best of competition through that time. Texas was down. Oklahoma had peak Vic. If we're going all time, if we're talking
Vic, 100%, yes. 100%.
It would be hard. It would be hard to pick anyone other than Michael Vick.
And then if we would go with somebody who just all time,
like Ohio State all time or all time.
All time.
I mean, because at a certain point, Smith needs to come into the conversation. He was outside the scope of our, since 2010 limitation that we put on this. But Smith would certainly be in the conversation.
I mean, peak season, you put him on both sides of the field. Hard to maybe not put in Deion Sanders on that team too.
I mean, if you're going for max versatility, yeah. Chris Gamble, out of every Ohio State player who's ever been, I would pick Chris Gamble first overall.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the absolute first player I would pick if we were going all-time Ohio State for this instead of since 2010. My first overall pick would have been Chris Gamble, just for the versatility that he brought. And the fact that you could reliably play him on both sides of the field. Ted Ginn Jr. is in that conversation of guys. Mm-hmm. Again, you would there are players who would come into the conversation if we went all time. But honestly, the way flag football works, modern defense, the way we see modern defense played fits the flag football model. So it would be hard to even for having conversations about linebackers, it'd be hard to bring like Chris Spielman or AJ Hawk into this because linebackers used to be such big dudes.
Yeah. But I think Laurinaitis would fit pretty well too. He was a pretty mobile linebacker.
Yeah.
Back in the day. I think AJ Hawk was a better run stopper and Laurinaitis was a better coverage linebacker between the two of them.
Between the two of them, yes, but neither of them were as good at coverage as, say, Ryan Shazier or even Brian Roll, honestly.
Yeah.
Or even Darren Lee. The linebacker position changed.
Yes.
It is the guys who play linebacker now used to play safety.
Someone who's
safety.
I just saw something here, and I think probably would be a really good fit for the NFL roster. But trying to think of someone who would fit that role for Ohio State, and I can't really can't really think of one offhand, and it sucks because he might have, should have, could have gone to Ohio State. As a rusher, Micah Parsons, would be like the perfect type of rusher.
No, I don't want any defensive linemen.
Well, he's kind of like that lineman / linebacker. Like
right, I don't want a lineman / linebacker. I want a coverage guy.
Okay.
I mean, throughout any of this, did you ever consider a Bosa or Young? It wasn't even a consideration.
No, and that's why.
Then why would Parsons?
I think of one for Ohio State.
It's the biggest guy who you're going to put on this defense is a coverage linebacker. Yeah. Not even a run stopping linebacker, let alone a pass rush specialist.
Mm-hmm. But kind of like what you said too about earlier about you can only, like, you can't rush inside the 5-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
Having like a maybe like a Young or like a Parsons would be a good fit to put in there for those kind of situations. Maybe.
What does a linebacker bring you, or even a hybrid pass rush specialist edge player that a taller safety doesn't give you in that situation?
Someone who can
remember. There's no blocking.
Someone who can cover tight ends, big tight ends.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of the guys, whether it be Von Bell or Jeffrey Okudah, like it was a big point of emphasis for Urban Meyer that has carried through about long corners, not necessarily tall corners, but long corners, guys with big arms, with lots of range. And again, if I want someone to cover a tight end, I just need a tall safety or a tall coverage linebacker. That's all I need.
Yeah, because there's going to be, you're going to have teams out there that would have like big tight ends, and you may not need.
I'll put Von Bell on your Jeremy Ruckert. I'm perfectly happy putting either Von Bell or Lee on your Jeremy Ruckert.
Let's think NFL wise. I know we're over in time here, but thinking like NFL, like best tight ends in NFL history, like who would you put to cover like Shannon Sharp, Tony Gonzalez,
Shannon Sharp,
Gronkowski in there.
Gronkowski's a cheat code. That dude was not a human being. He joined us from a different multiverse. No one's covering Gronk ever.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon Sharp was a glorified wide receiver. He was a tight end who they put at wide receiver. I'm perfectly happy putting Von Bell on him.
But what about Tony Gonzalez though?
I'm happy to put Darren Lee on him. Maybe even Von Bell. Listen, I'm not saying they're going to win every time, but I'm happy to do it.
Okay.
You know who would be ideal for this if we're talking all-time players, since we brought like Michael Vick into the conversation? Troy Polamalu would be unstoppable in flag.
Yeah, Polamalu would. Yeah, Polamalu would. You just put him anywhere. You put him anywhere. You can line him up to man cover, to safety. You can put him in as a rusher. Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, I would agree with that.
One running back all time anywhere. Just any running back who ever lived. I think the answer is obvious.
Deion Sanders. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not Deion Sanders. Wow. Barry Sanders.
Yeah. Yes. That answer
Barry
is obvious, even if you forgot his first name for a moment. Yes, it is Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
And he's good at playing without blockers because he played in Detroit.
He did, yes.
All right. That's it. That's the end of our show. Kyle, do you have anything in Kyle's corner since we're already 10 minutes over our hour?
No, but we'll just
Thank you for taking the hint.
This was a lot of fun.
This was fun. This is big, stupid fun. we should do more big, stupid, fun episodes.
Hey, I mean, if we have no more big
fun,
if we have no more big Ohio State news here, or other news that could potentially come up here, we'll keep digging into our Wasteland episode.
Yeah, my hope at this point, I hope that the next time we talk, I hope the next time we have an episode where we're talking about a team that is, let's just say, north of Ohio. It's a team that's up north. Yep, that team, Kyle, that team down in the chat. One of the better emotes I've made, I'll say it. Also not bad. All right. That's it. That's the end of the episode. Tonight's ending music will be by a band from Ohio called the Soul Monsters. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. That's how I end the episode. The name of the song is Dead Set. The name of the band is Soul Monsters. Kyle, I forgot how to end this. I forgot how to end the show. Bye, everyone.
See you next week.
Yeah, maybe.